Trying to cater to all the needs. You've been feeling guilty for so long. Baby, they're not friends, they are enemies. Don't you tell them yes, tell them get lost. Cause every time you go and ask for help, they say sorry but I'm busy. So you end up doing it yourself. Ooh, hold up, baby, don't take it. It ain't friendship if they just fake it. You don't need to put up with their bullshit. Tell them no, 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 no. Hold up, baby, don't stress it. It ain't worth it.
How do you say your name? Just make
Rene Marte.
Rene, right? That's a good flow to it. I like that.
Yeah, appreciate it.
So I started sumo in 2016, and
oh, nice.
I didn't know of you at all. But John Gunning pointed me your way. His words exactly is that you broke his dreams.
Yeah, we had one competition, one of the worlds. As a matter of fact, we sat at the same table. When I learned, I had to wrestle him because I didn't know what the bracket was, and I learned then. That was funny. He's a good guy, really cool.
Yeah, he's
good guy.
Really dope. He's really dope.
Very knowledgeable.
So the whole point of this project is I'm reaching out to as many Black people as possible that have done or that are still doing sumo, and like where the cultures unite and where how it impacted your family and everything along those lines. How did you find sumo? Actually,
I'm just to correct you, I'm actually an Afro-Latino.
Afro-Latino?
I'm actually the first Dominican ever to do sumo, so I can fall under both categories.
Hey, watch out.
Yeah.
I actually met Kevin Carter back a couple years back. And he's Puerto Rican.
Right.
So, you're technically the second Afro-Latino to do podcasts.
What, the first Dominican? Let's remember that.
Dominican.
But
did you notice
we
that they started a club in the Dominican Republic?
Did they really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know that. I would love to go out there and train with those guys, and just to teach them the ropes. But how I learned about sumo was it's a funny story. Because every sport that I participated in, it's almost like I always got a late start, right? And I started in collegiate wrestling, folk style wrestling, right? And it's funny because I was a natural at sumo because in elementary school we had a tractor trailer tire that they had out in recess, and we would use that tractor trailer tire to play what we call King of the Ring. And we'd stand on the tire, and little did I know that this was sumo techniques that I'd be using later in life. Just imagine how the world turns, right? So a wrestler, which I knew nothing about wrestling at the time. I thought it was the WWF stuff. And I had no idea there was such a sport as wrestling. All right? I thought it was all fake. So this one kid that was on a recreation wrestling team says to me, hey, you're really good at this tire King of the Ring thing. Because what we did was we stood and faced each other, and we pushed each other off of this tire, and the winner would stay on. So it was basically using, like you were doing tachi, just pushing each other. and I was really good at it. So he says to me, "Hey, why don't you try wrestling? You're pretty good." So that's how I first learned scholastic wrestling. So fast forward, I had success with wrestling and continued it from junior high on to high school. And then I met a teammate on the wrestling team who was a judo player. He was a national champion in judo, and that's when I first learned the judo. So I said to him, and he had good throws. So I said, "Hey, I want to learn judo." So from high school on, I started training in judo. And the sensei, who was the late, great, blessed soul, Yonesuke Yoshisada, which we called Yanni for short.
Oh, Yanni.
He was the 3-time Olympic coach. And he had a dohyo in Cranford, New Jersey. And he introduced us to sumo. And he actually he was one of the original clubs in Jersey and in the States, period. He was like the founder and president of the Sumo Association in the States. So he had a club going, and he asked me to join, and that's when we were all on ESPN. That was like one of the highlights of my life.
Yeah.
We had that appearance on ESPN. I think like 2 or 3 appearances on ESPN. So yeah, that's how I got introduced to sumo.
And you're talking about the nationals that was on ESPN.
Right. They had a couple of them, but I think I appeared in maybe 1 or 2. Yeah. So they had the Canadians and all that. Yeah, it was a great experience to be on national stage, and I enjoyed it. It was a great opportunity. It was a great sport. I traveled the world, many countries. I was a many-time world competitor. I managed to make it to the semifinals on 2 occasions and placed 5th. So it wasn't bad. I had a nice little run, many national titles.
Nice.
Had a nice little run.
So you at one point you made it to the semifinals at Worlds.
Right, semifinals, all the way to semifinals. 1 day of practice. Yeah, we would train like once. I say maybe once or twice a week, if that. And it was a great accomplishment. I mean, I hate to toot my own horn, but considering we barely train, and to be able to compete at that level against top-notch competition.
Yeah.
It was a great accomplishment, I must say.
At that time, which countries were the top?
Well, you know what? The funny thing is, even till this day, I always would mention how tough it was, because what you see in the MMA is the same guys from these countries that are tough at the sumo competitions, which tells you how difficult it is, because you have all the Arabian, Arabic countries, the Middle Eastern countries, the Mongolians, the Russians, Ukrainians, all the European countries. They're all tough. The Georgian, Russians, all those guys that you see now, Kazakhstan, all those countries that you see, the Khabib guys and all those guys, the Middle Eastern wrestlers, the same guys we competed against in sumo. So those are the guys that were good there. Right, still same thing.
Because the last 2 world, I've been to Worlds twice, and and these guys. I mean, I know there's an issue with Russia right now; they're kind of banned and whatnot. But still, other than heavyweight, Russia, Ukraine, typically pretty dominates.
Right.
Japan still dominates heavies. Right. But man, like
you can't get to the semis. You can't get to the semis or quarterfinals without seeing a Mongolian, a Russian, or a Japanese. Bottom line.
Yeah.
And I always had to face the Mongolians or the Japanese. Never failed. I never had an easy way. Never had an easy bracket. Always had to face the tougher guys. Never had an easy bracket. You know, it was crazy.
Wow.
But
wow.
Yeah, it
was Ukraine strong at that time when you were competing?
Extremely strong. Yeah. As a matter of fact, that's who I lost to. And I think in the semis to a Ukrainian, real tall guy. I forget his name, but he was really tall, like 6'6", and he was always tough. He was like one of the best they ever had. Wow. And they were all like freestyle wrestlers.
Yeah. Yep.
They were really good. Now
they can get low.
Yeah, they get really low. They train with. I think they even travel to Japan and train with the Japanese.
They still do that.
Yeah. Wow.
They still do that.
Yeah.
Kind of annoying.
Even during the war,
like,
they're still flying out there and training with Japan.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. As a matter of fact, when I was pretty much on my way out. The Egyptian kids were coming on, and they had the one kid that we competed against, and he I think made the pro ranks, and I think he's still wrestling now. What was that?
Osonorashi.
Right. Yeah.
He has since been retired since about 2019.
Oh, really?
Or no, actually,
okay.
Wait, before that. I think it was, he came 2018, maybe. Okay, but I'd have to look it up. But yeah, he came to Los Angeles for a little bit, but then we practiced with him with the Los Angeles team, and then he moved to the East Coast, and now he's doing this whole the world. What is it called?
World Championship Sumo.
Oh, right.
Yeah, which is in New Jersey. I don't know where are you living? So.
I'm actually in Jersey too.
Oh, okay. So you probably heard this thing around town and whatnot.
Yeah, I heard. That was I think the first one was a while back, and there was a big deal about it. Because it was. That we weren't supposed to compete in, and if you did, you were banned.
Yeah.
Or suspended for a year or something. There was some discrepancies about it last time.
Yeah.
I imagine it was something similar this time around too, right?
It's still a gray. I guess.
Yeah.
The IFS has sent an official letter saying, while we don't condone this, you won't get, I don't know, something about you won't get banned, but that's like, pending kind of thing.
Yeah, I get it.
So he's still, it's still in the gray, but
There was some good competition though,
Yeah, there's a bunch of old school guys that are competing in that, and some of the more current wrestlers that are in it as well.
I think they have 3 retired wrestlers there.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
So it's like pro sumo wrestlers.
Yeah. Soslan, a Mongolian, and then Osonorashi.
Oh, okay.
And then Osonorashi's got he's got like 3 or 4 of his other Egyptian friends in different weight classes.
Oh man.
Which they're still
tough.
Even their middleweight.
Right.
This dude got some rock solid arms.
Yeah.
Muhammad. I remember the Remy guy. Was he still around? Remy?
No.
Yeah, Remy's still.
Remy?
He's not active. But he's around. He's around.
Their middleweight. He was their middleweight. He was tough. I never competed against the guy, but we faced each other as a team. When they were in their prime.
But it was the 253 pounds.
Right. Right.
Yeah, middle was a big thick gray area. I don't know if you know, sir, but now we that middleweight split into 2.
Right, I heard like the 225, right?
No, so 188 to 220. is middleweight.
Okay.
Yeah, a true middleweight. And then
really?
So now 221 to the 254. 254 is light heavy.
Oh, okay. And then heavy is anything above.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Man,
wow.
back then that middleweight was the wild, wild west. That was some wild.
Yeah. Wow. I didn't know this. So when did this take place? When did this happen?
They did the split the year I went to Thailand or Taiwan. So that's 2018.
Wow. Okay, so now when you do the competitions, the team competitions, how many guys do they have out there?
It's still 3 and an alternate.
Oh, okay.
So, I mean 4, but the 4th one sometimes doesn't get to fight.
Oh,
but
okay.
Yeah, it's still same.
Okay, but then when you do the worlds, they have all those weight classes also. Those new weight classes, okay.
The only one that doesn't have those weight categories are the World Combat Games and World Games. Both of those don't have it, just because it's kind of a newer division.
Okay.
And that's for the women respective also. So they have a middleweight and then light heavyweight.
Okay. So you guys heard of Manny Yarborough, of course, right? He was the infamous. Yeah, that was my teammate. We all trained together at Yanni's in Cranford. I don't know if you knew that, but yeah, he was my teammate. We trained together. We traveled. What was that?
I was saying I knew that Manny was with Yanni. So I heard all kinds of stories through Trent Sabo.
Right. Yeah. Through Trent. Yeah, Trent was one of the guys we competed with, and we became friends and all that. Knew each other for many years. Yep. And there was another guy. I'm sure you heard the story about the other guy, Mike Mumford, that became Manny's friend, and they were like inseparable. Did you guys hear that story?
Yeah. I think it was. What's his name? I'm going blank. I just said his name. Trent had talked about him.
Oh yeah. Well, what did he say? Share. Please share. What did he say about that story?
No, he said Manny was a jokester and that they were kind of wild. That's the way Trent likes to, he's just like, well, yeah. It was pretty wild back in the day.
Yeah, that's Trent. You got him down on the sides. But yeah, no, the guy Mike Mumford, funny story, just to share with you guys. He came out and on his first competition ever, he was straight off the street, literally straight off the street. I met the guy, and I was trying to find other recruits for Yanni, because he wanted more competitors. And every time I had a chance and I would see a guy that I thought was a decent athlete or had some good size, I would always encourage him to come out. And I was a police officer, and I went on an investigation, and while I'm at the door, go ahead.
He's the one who for murder, right?
For murder? No.
Okay, wrong one. Sorry, I guess.
Oh yeah, no. I mean, you could bring it up, but no, for murder, no. But he had an exchange with his neighbors, and they shot at his home, and a bullet ricocheted into his home and just missed his wife. And I was the investigating officer. So while I'm at the door, writing on my notepad, this monster of a man comes to the door. And I just looked up, and because he was so much bigger than me, and while I'm investigating, I say, hey, by the way, as I was getting ready to leave, I said, would you like to try sumo? and this guy was like 6'4". He had this handlebar mustache, and he looked really mean, right? And he had this high-pitched, exciting voice. And he says, I would love to try sumo. I always wanted to meet Manny Yarborough. Right? So I said, oh, great. Yeah. So long story short, I introduced the man to the sport. He came out and practiced for like 1 week or two, and we travel. I believe it was might have been in Poland. I'm not sure. It might have been Poland. And he had his first competition. In his first competition, he drew the South African champion, who was one of the best. He was like the 2-time repeating champion, world champion, and this guy was a beast. He was like,
interesting. Do you remember his name?
Yeah, Mark Roberts. I believe it was Mark Robertson or something like that. He was a South African monster. Oh. This guy was every bit of 305 pounds of all muscle, like 6'4", 6'5". He was a hulk of a man, all muscle. He looked like a big bodybuilder competing in sumo. This guy was the best, and he was a great wrestler. I think his background may have been wrestling and judo and powerlifting. He was a beast, though. This guy, hulk of a man, and Mike beat him on his first time out. Beat this man, and the guy was invincible. He was beating the Japanese. He was beating everybody. But it was like a fluke. We even nicknamed Mike the Fluke because he beat the guy by accident because the guy lost his balance. Mike kept his balance when the guys tried to push him out, but Mike kind of like did a lateral move and kept his balance, and the guy stepped out.
Hey, that's
right.
Sumo,
exactly.
That's
but
Sumo,
but it was legendary. It was legendary, and Mike became a legend, and him and Manny became inseparable. And I love the fact that I introduced him to the sport and it encouraged him, to lose weight and and he was so enthusiastic. He started wearing the sumo garb, the robes, the Japanese sandals and all that. So it was nice to see him build his self-esteem and start working out and help him, in a sense. But I didn't like the fact that I didn't want just the big guys competing in the sport. In a sense, it was hurting the sport because a lot of the casual fans thought it was just the big guys,
Right.
And I wanted to encourage the more athletic guys to compete, like the wrestlers and the judo guys that had the smaller builds.
What was your approach? I have a hard time getting some of the smaller guys into it. So I teach judo. I teach jiu-jitsu.
Okay.
I'm a black belt in all of those things, and
nice.
It's hard sometimes to get like the people that I see that I'm like, man, everything you do is valid in sumo.
Yeah,
but that
they don't see it.
Right.
Like I try to bring that Bible to them, and they're like,
right.
Yeah.
Because of the Mawashi too, a lot of guys, always.
Which is funny because they sitting around wearing, you just like, especially if it's no gi, you just wearing a little leotard,
right? The singlets and stuff. Yeah,
you got your junk all.
No, I agree. But I tried, I always tried that complimentary approach where I compliment them, and then I try to like smooth it in and say, hey, you would be good at this sport, And I'll always mention how they have different weight classes and women competitors and the smaller weight classes. But like you said, it's hard to get them out of that big guy, mindset where they think it's only the heavy set guys competing. And, it's been that way for so long that it's hard to get them out of that. Yeah. And then thinking Mawashi, even though you may say, hey, you don't have to expose your glutes or anything, you could wear spandex. It's still tough to get them out of that mindset, in that picture. Watching the Mawashi, but yeah, man, it's a great sport, and I wish I had known about it much younger.
Don't we all?
Yeah, and that's just it. It's like all those Japanese kids been competing as pre-K, and here we are starting. I started in my 30s, so imagine.
Same. I started 8 years ago, and I started in the beginning of my 30s.
Oh, wow.
I'm 41 today.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, so imagine, man, how we started earlier.
I know. Well, we're lucky. There are a few kids. There's a few rising stars that are in their early 20s.
Really?
Right now, that that you'd probably be excited to look out for, and so there's hope, and they're getting in younger and younger, and that's really awesome because all the new crop of people that I've been meeting, from the Midwest guys and the West Coast guys, every single one of them, like, how old are you? And they're like, I'm 24. I'm like, oh shit, wow, awesome. Because I think our crop was the last ones that were like, we're already older and doing it from there. And now they're all starting in their 20s. And even one kid named Ben, who is, I think he's a teen now, 14, 13.
Oh, really?
14.
Yeah. And he just stays in the scene. And he, like, as soon as he puts some pounds on him, he's been to Worlds once. So he, like, as soon as he puts some pounds on him, he's already gaining
the worst lot ever. His first match
he got grown ass men.
Was Japan, and his second match was Mongolia.
Oh my god!
Yeah. And these were quote unquote juniors. They looked like they had a full on mortgage and and an ex-wife and
yeah,
insane.
As someone that competed against Sandstorm from Egypt, have you heard about his controversies that happened at the World Games in 2022?
No, what happened?
It's best if I show it to you. Yeah. Let's see.
Really?
Here we go.
Like, give me like an okay.
Decision is. Hey!
What did he do? No way. What?
And this is an ex-pro.
Right.
Wait till just keep watching.
Oh no. Oh no. Yeah, those guys are trip, man. That's not cool.
What the hell are you doing if you don't understand what you're doing? Are you ready to back up?
Oh no.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not cool, man. That's totally unprofessional. He's out of line.
Yep. And therefore,
cool.
we are now out of the World Games. All that hard work, because of this, every country suffered, not just Egypt.
What happened prior to this is Egypt beats Ukraine, right?
And it was amazing.
A great strategy. It was a perfect technique. He beats them, and then afterwards, in celebration, he does a backflip on the set, like on the clay.
Oh no!
And it was a crappy backflip too.
Oh. Wow.
Yeah. And so he did it, and then they were trying to right when he had his outburst, they were trying to say, it's unsportsmanlike conduct and you lost the match. But then after that whole scuffle and stuff, they said, okay, well then you're gonna have to do Torinosh, a rematch.
Right.
And then the Egyptian whooped his ass again,
when he had that little episode, they didn't disqualify the Egyptian kid.
They tried to, and that that thing went off after they got Osonarashi out. I think JJ, we were sitting there for a good 10 minutes or so. I guess they were just talking it over and trying to work it out or whatever. And they came to the conclusion of, okay, let them fight it out. Let them fight it for a chance to win again. and then he wins again.
Oh,
Which,
wow.
Honestly, I think that's more than like first what Sandstorm did, right? That was already just like,
that was out of pocket.
Or that was out of pocket. That was already bad. And then immediately after that, it shows that the ruling was inconsistent. Which, if you're trying to use what the World Games is all about, the pathway into the Olympics, and you're trying to make sure the sport is valid and consistent with rules, right?
Yes.
And from there, they were wishy-washy with the rules, which I feel that's part of like another part of why they were like, yeah, this can't, this has no pathway to the Olympics. So now we have to restart, and we won't be able to get back to the World Games for another, I think, 8 years technically.
Oh, wow. That's very disappointing.
They had us looking like, of all the sports, these are Olympic sports. These are, you win, you lose, whatever, but there's a level of professionalism once you get to that level. This ain't no backyard brawl, and they were treating it like, it was just like a cockfight in somebody's backyard kind of thing. And homeboy's bitter about losing money. Like, and
that sets you back. It was already tough enough. It's unfortunate, but they've always been very passionate, those guys, those Egyptians, and ever since I started, they were very competitive and very passionate and emotional, and
still are.
They would do that all the time. Whenever it didn't went their way, they would lose it.
I remember I have like one Egyptian story that for my brain it doesn't even make sense. We were doing the US Open, and one of the guys loses, and he felt like he should have won, and Rami was there, and Rami started arguing with Yama, who was the head referee, and then it got real crazy. The guy walked outside, and this is what I'll always remember. He stepped out of his mawashi. Like he like shimmied down, pushed his mawashi down, and I was looking like, first of all, I don't even know how you do that. And then he walks over, grabs a cigarette, starts smoking a cigarette, and then drives off. And I'm like, holy shit! It was wild. Like that. Wow. Me and my wife, who's also like does sumo, we saw that, and we're just like, this doesn't even. Like, we know what a mawashi is. That was amazing.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy, man. I remember I had something similar happen. We were actually in the quarterfinals of the team competition. This was like, I think, the farthest we had gotten in a while. And we were, haunts me till this day, to be honest with you. And we were one... Actually, did we make it to the semis? We were one win away from medaling. I beat Biamba. Of all people. I faced Biamba and beat the man. I couldn't believe it. Wow. We were all in disbelief, and they robbed us. They robbed me of the victory. You can even ask Trent if you see it. I was one of the only ones to ever beat the guy, right? I had a history of beating guys that had never been beaten before, by the way.
Of course.
Yes, and this guy, I beat him with a wrestling move, which we call the arm drag.
Yeah.
And I hit him with a sweet arm drag and got him to the edge, and they made us do it over because they wanted to rob us Americans. And I knew it just took the winds right out of me because I knew I couldn't beat him twice, Yeah. I got discouraged. I said, there's no way I'm beating this guy twice. I managed to get this win, and it was a legit win. And it's on YouTube too, if you look it up. But as soon as they said do-over, I said, I'm screwed. And they screwed us out of... They wanted the Mongolians to advance.
Yeah.
And we beat them. We legitimately beat them, but they robbed me. Me.
What year was that?
It's a good question. But it was the three of us. It was Kenna.
Okay.
Heffernan. myself, and what's my man's name? Dan. Dan Cold Flight.
Oh yeah, Sumo Dan.
Sumo Dan, exactly.
Yeah.
And we put together a good tournament, man. We beat a lot of good teams, and we were one win away. And I always came through and beat a lot of the tough guys. And this one particular match, when we lost to the Mongolians, we wrestled in this repertoire for third and to place that one last spot, and I lost to a freaking little Brazilian that I should have just pushed out, but I tried to get fancy and I hit him with a hip throw, which I had done, and he watched me, and he was a judo player himself, and he countered me. Till this day, it haunts me because all I had to do was push him out, but I tried to get fancy and throw him because he was a little guy, and he countered me, and I said, "Yeah, huh?"
I said, "Yep, that." Everybody's got those ones where you're just like, all I had to do was
exactly
do something simple. You know what I mean? And I think for me, the 2023, losing to that little dude, Lugano or whatever, I forget his name, last year, because I went in, it was a little dude. I was just like, I'm gonna get, and I just like you just said, I was like, oh, I'm gonna get fancy with it.
Right.
And this little motherfucker got all I had to do was basic ass sumo.
Right. Exactly.
I said,
exactly.
I'm gonna get this dude, and he caught me hot. He caught me off the jump, got me on the tachi, and had me in a solid bad position. I said, "Oh shit, am I about to lose to this little dude?"
Speaking of judo, what was your rank in judo?
I only got the Shodan. I didn't really want to take it any further. I just that was an accomplishment in itself, just to get to the black belt there. And keep in mind, all black belts are not the same, because depending on where you train and who you go against, that makes a world of a difference.
Yes.
But we had a lot of good competition there at this dohyo, and all types of guys would come from all over the world and train with us, and we just had a lot of good competition. So no, it was good enough.
What was your favorite technique?
Well, because I was a big strong guy, I always liked Uchimata and Arai Goshi. Those are big for me. I had a lot of success with those big throws. Yep.
Nice. Were you able to do those same techniques in sumo?
Oh yeah, I actually used them a lot. Yeah, I used them both a lot.
Nice.
Yep. And
how did you modify your grip? I'm assuming that in judo, since you're a bigger guy, did you use over the top grip?
Well, sometimes I would, again, every competition was a little different. I didn't rely on one particular thing, but there was also, I would say, the Uchimata more so, because I always grabbed the Mawashi behind the arm, under. I would go under, right.
Past the knot?
Right, yeah. Well, no, beyond, I would say near the when you would go behind the arm, in the lower portion underneath, with the lower grip, when you come underneath behind the arm. I wasn't good with the Japanese terminology, but it's kind of like you going for an underhook in wrestling.
Yeah.
And instead of going with the underhook, you release the underhook and you grab the Mawashi. And I would just always use my hip and kind of hip out, and then I would use the uchi right there. And that was just my go-to. But it wasn't one signature move. I had so many different techniques I would use. It was case to case. But Uchimata and Harai was good moves. But I always stuck to the basics when it came to like those tough competitions in the worlds. Like I would get fancy with the guys in the nationals, but once you get to that world competition, you had to keep it basic. Honestly,
yeah.
Like when we first came on, I think the East Coast was like the most dominant when I first started out. Just to give you guys a little history,
that's what I heard.
We were like the most dominant because we had the most competition within our dojo, and this is why we were so much better and advanced than everybody, because we had so many tough guys in our dojo, a lot of wrestlers, judo guys, and then of course we had Yanni, which was our teacher, our master instructor, and so we got better. We had these two Haitian guys who were really good judo players, and they became really good sumo wrestlers also. And then, of course, we had the regular wrestlers and judo guys that we practiced with. So we were so far advanced that we would just mop up whenever we competed. We would mop up everybody, and then. It was like I said, we were able to just dominate, and for many years it was like my arch nemesis was always Kenna, and Kenna and I would always meet in the finals, and then came along Troy. Troy came later, a couple of years later, but it was Kenna and I for years.
Nice.
And then Troy came along, and then we had that little round robin with, bless his soul, he passed away. I'm sure you guys heard of him. Have you ever met him, Troy?
Never met him.
Never.
No?
Never.
Wow. Yeah, so he was from Cali, LA cop, and he and I established a relationship. And then it started getting a little more competitive, but it's like we always qualified, and I almost quit just to give other guys the opportunity, because I was, honestly, not tooting my own horn, but because I would win an event every year, I wanted to give other guys the opportunity to have that opportunity to experience, that, going to, one of those countries, wherever it was held.
Yeah.
And it just got to a point, it was, I would take off, I would call myself retired and then come back and still win, scratch off a couch, stuff like that. And I just wanted to test myself. And then it got to a point where I was like, I took off for like maybe 5 years and came back. I forget the year. They had like a tournament and where they involved a lot of little freestyle kids. I thought that was a year they were going to try to like have a lot of the freestylers come in, and what was that? I think it was in Kansas City. One of the competitors had like he called himself the Black Rhino or something. I forget his name.
He's from
Kansas City, right?
Nah, New Orleans.
Oh, New Orleans? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But he was living in Kansas City, no? Or he was always living...
Well, no. So there was a Kansas City team, an old school guy who is now he was coaching some wrestlers as well. And they came 20 I think it was 2019, and somewhere in the Midwest, that guy had brought his team, and then I think he saw them at one other tournament like in Georgia, and then the Kansas City crew just kind of like
disappeared.
Yeah. They just stopped showing up to anything. I saw them at two spots, and then he was an old school guy, and he was talking to Trent and stuff, and he had given me compliments because I was still kind of fresh, and then but he gone, disappeared.
Wow.
Yeah,
but I'm trying to think. It was one where they had like several different like tournaments going that same day. Like they had the judo competition, they had freestyle, and then a sumo at the same time. And they had a whole bunch of little kids in different weight classes, and I thought it was really going to take off after that because they were really, pushing the sport out there and getting a lot of the freestylers involved. And he had some coaches and a whole bunch of wrestling camps, and this is what Trent and I always discussed, that we wanted to move it around and demonstrate at a lot of these wrestling camps and what have you, to try and encourage a lot of those kids to do it. And the football camps and stuff. And I thought it was going to take off. Yeah,
there was a year or two where nationals was held inside of wrestling. Like there was like kids it's like a youth and high school wrestling competition. So there was like,
that's what I remember,
like 6 to 10 other mats going on, and then Sumo had like one little corner. I mean, huge. So you had just kids.
I remember
everywhere.
that. I remember that.
Yeah.
So that was so going back. So that was one of the tournaments that I went to. I made a little comeback, and I competed with the one kid. What was his name? Was it Runyon or Run?
Yep, Colton.
Colton. There you go.
Yeah. He's down here with me now.
Oh, nice.
And he'll tell you.
He was training in Japan the whole 9, from what I understand.
Yep.
And this was my first time. I mean, literally fresh off a couch. I hadn't competed in years, and I competed in that one tournament, and I managed to beat him and the other guys. And then I think he faced me again and managed to beat me the second time. But I think I managed to get to the semis, or no, the finals against Ken again, or semis. I forget. But I know I placed like second or third. But I say that to say I still had it, and I went out on that note. That was like my last competition ever, and I think I hung it up after that.
Hey.
That was like
that's a good way to go out.
Yeah, exactly. So
I'm trying to write that story too.
Yeah, so that was it, man. That was like the sum of it all, and it was a nice little run, and I thought the sport would take off, and it was tough. I wanted to get the better athletes to come out, and like I said, I tried hard for many years. We did demonstrations, but for many years we traveled from state to state. We demonstrated. As a matter of fact, one last story, Manny and I almost got into a freaking fist fight behind one of those demonstrations we did. But we would travel all the time, from state to state, trying to get these people to come out. And it was always fun. We always had nice turnouts, but, people coming out of the crowds and challenging us and trying the sport, and kid competitors. And we always had big crowds for the competitions, but
it never converted into actually. Hey, that story is still going strong, my friend.
Wow. I think it's better now. We're starting to get with
now we have social media.
Wrestlers are a little harder to get. Yeah. Like regular, like collegiate wrestler, freestyle, Greco-Roman, a lot harder. But jiu-jitsu,
they're coming.
You can get jiu-jitsu people. So like Brazilian jiu-jitsu.
Right, I can imagine.
Some of them come from wrestling, and then they go into jiu-jitsu, and then you can get them from there.
Yeah, and especially if they see, they're like, oh shoot, this is going to make me stronger at my standing game. So some of them kind of like connect the dots, and they're like, yay, okay.
I've done about 7 seminars where I go to different gyms, and my whole approach, right? So I've done, I have a wrestling team, a local wrestling team that I coach. I have a couple different like jiu-jitsu gyms that I go to, and then judo gyms, right? So I go to all of them, and I try to make sure that they know that whatever they do is valid. Right. Yeah. I think a lot of times they're like, oh man, I can't do this, I can't do that. I can talk everybody into whatever they do is good. Even like I got a Muay Thai coach to do a sumo tournament. And the reason why is like, you like the step jab? That's Sapari. All we have to do is open your hands. Everything's the same from there, right? And then like arm drags, and it's really good when you like arm drag that big wrestler, right? That big wrestler that's like 3 something, young, thinks that he's just gonna push you through. You're like, I got you. He puts hands on you. You're like,
I mean, the whole reason I got, Chad, one of my top students, I did a demo, or kind of a collaborative demo at our clan fight lab, the BJJ spot, and he got curious. So did 2 other people, but you know how it goes. They came for one, and then they were like, okay, boop, and then they disappeared. But Chad, he has gone 3 years strong. That is, and so I'm very, very happy we did something over at the BJJ spot. But also social media has become it's something that's being like solidly tapped into with this generation of sumo wrestlers, and there's so many, like there's teams popping up. It feels like almost every other month now, and so so you can go anywhere, any region. East Coast is still a little sparse, but I mean the Midwest is growing crazy strong. Texas is insanely strong in the South, and then the original when I had first started, it was LA was it. Like that was LA was the shit, and then there was like a few sporadic peoples, but man, it is really evolved across the board.
I agree. I've seen I've seen that as far as being it growing to all these different states. That I will say is encouraging, that you have so many other competitors in different states. That I would say is very encouraging. Yeah. And maybe that would lead, finally to the younger kids, competing. But yeah, that was very, very encouraging for sure. Yeah. Because like you said, early on, it's tough. The West Coast and us East Coast guys, and a sprinkle of the Canadians, and then that was it. And now, like you said, is countrywide. So that's awesome. That's encouraging. As a matter of fact, I remember that one big kid that went pro, the Canadian.
Yes.
He started out with us. We did a competition in Canada, and he was encouraged by watching us, and then I encouraged him. As a matter of fact, I was the one that told the kid, hey, I think you'd be good at this, because he came on, we did a demonstration. It was a competition, and he came to spectate. And then he said, hey, I want to try it. And I encouraged him. I said, yeah, man, you have the size. He wasn't that big yet. But I said, hey, come out and you would do great. I gave him some tips. I worked with him on the side.
Yeah.
And there he is, Is he still competing, or he gave it up?
Once he retired and went back to Canada, there was like a small push. They started an Instagram, and there was a push for to restart Canadian sumo, and then he just didn't want to do it. But there is a new crop of Canadians resurging it. He was supposed to be the great hope of Canada, kind of push, and I think just like Wakichito, a couple other people, once they were like out.
But what happened to him in the pros though? Then how well did he do?
He only got to about, I think, Sandame, and then and pieced out. Like the lower level, he's still lower level, and then pieced out.
How long was he in it? Like 5 years or so, maybe, if that? Not even? Or you don't know?
I can't remember all the years blended together. I found out about him once he retired and went back to Canada, because there was another Canadian dude who was talking about starting stuff back up. And like I said, they even had an Instagram like that said coming soon, and I was like, oh, bet. And then but Canada is coming back. I just went to a kind of it's Nashville, but it was basically a Midwest tournament where two Canadians, and I had a great talk with it. I can't remember. God, it sucks. I can't remember his name because me and him and I sat and smoked a cigar we had shared the same hotel, and he talked about what Canada's future. But there will be Canadians, so we will have a nice, decent North American sumo championship one day.
Okay.
And we're still working on Mexico. We're still working on Mexico.
Yeah.
I have some connections with some judo clubs out in Tijuana, and they've been reaching out to me, and they want to do sumo. So I have some stuff in the works. Got some stuff.
So how did you two guys meet? You know, were you like childhood friends or?
No. So I was. I wish the Justins.
Okay.
No, so I was originally started with Yama in Los Angeles back in, I think it was October of 2016, October of 2016.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think a year later, then in pops this beautiful gentleman right here, and I was like, "Yay, black people!" 'Cause the only other black person that I knew. I mean, I had heard of Manny Yarborough through Trent, because me and Trent were solid rivals till about 2018 when I started whooping his ass, and then that changed. Then everything changed, and he never whooped my ass again. I whooped him in Salt Lake City. I whooped him everywhere.
When I walked in to the LA club, I walked in and it was Justin was there, and then there was another guy named Philip.
Well,
right? Monster, whatever name.
Call him by his real name.
Right. So I walk in and I'm with my wife, and we look at each other and we're like, "Man, sumo is black."
little did he know it wasn't that black. I was just like, "Yes." You just happen to see the two black motherfuckers. It's real like, black
just
now.
The fact that we do a project like this, black in sumo, and we. Originally it was just going to be about a month, right, for February. And then started doing our research and then reaching out just people that are active right now. We could do this forever. Like that's how that
many.
Works.
There's at least one in every club. That's
at least.
That's pretty accurate, I think.
Yeah. And there's right around 40 clubs now.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm telling
you. That's crazy.
And Texas is the largest state as far as the amount of clubs in a state.
Man.
We got, anywhere. We got Denton, Dallas, Austin, San Antonio, Houston, and now coming soon. I actually shouldn't. I'm not gonna. Share. No, but all I'm gonna say is there's going to be an official college team.
Oh wow! Hey, that would be good. That'd be a great idea.
Now that we're talking about secrets, I recently Thursday I talked to Ozeki Kunishiki, and we were talking about like Akebono and like what he meant to Hawaii and what he meant to him. And Kunishiki wants to do a training camp in Nashville. So July 4th weekend.
What's up with Nashville?
He has his sumo and sushi and sumo, right? So that weekend he's free, and he's going to have all of his wrestlers show us sumo. So it's a full training camp. Now this is the first time I'm talking about it. This is the first time. So I'm going to publish this.
In general, is this going to be this year? Or are we talking
this year?
Next year?
This year.
Oh shoot!
July 4th weekend.
Oh,
Nashville.
That'd be nice.
Oh,
yes.
Wow. Where at?
In Nashville.
Nashville.
He hasn't figured out what's the location in Nashville, but he's going to have a free weekend, and he wants us to do some work.
Oh, that'd be nice. Nice.
Holla at your boy. Let me know. I can help.
We did a demonstration with him once. He used me to demonstrate, and I was so scared. This guy was so powerful. I couldn't believe how strong he was, you know, and he put his palm on my chest and kind of, you know, smacked me lightly, and I couldn't believe it. I said, man, this guy hit me for real. He would kill me. I mean, that's how powerful this guy was. I couldn't believe it, you know. But it was cool, man.
Right on.
It was really cool. But yeah, no, that's very encouraging, and I'm happy to hear that, man. You know, we were like the originals, so to see it growing, you know, is a great thing, you know.
You guys definitely paved the way for sumo to be so viable that Kanishiki can travel the United States doing sumo demonstrations, right? It's all about education, and it's based on the clubs that are in states. So when you're like, oh, I wonder why Kanishiki hasn't shown up here, make a club, start doing sumo, and he sees it. He literally sees it all.
Yep.
Wow. That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
That's awesome. But keep doing what you're doing, and
thank you, sir.
Wish you much success, you know, in the future. And
it's been amazing talking to you, too.
Yeah, likewise. Stay in touch, fellas, you know.
Yeah,
and if you're ever around, you know, hit me up, you know, Jersey or whatever. You know, I'm so far removed from the sport, but, you know, I wouldn't mind making a cameo here and there, or teaching some of my, you know, helping out, you know, anything, you know, let me know.
Yes, sir.
I'm more than happy, you know.
Yes, sir.
It was definitely an honor. Thank you for coming on the show, and honestly, like, paving the way for not just like sumo in general, but also Black people in sumo.
Absolutely.
And, you know, which some people don't like the idea of representation, but it makes a difference, especially for the next generation.
I agree.
Yeah,
for sure.
All right. And with that, we will say goodbye.
Thank you so much for having me. Enjoy, fellas. Good luck.